Hey you guys, welcome to another edition of Start Select, the show brought to you from the green screen video layer of GameSpot UK. I'm Jane Douglas and this is Mark Walton.
This week we've mourned the passing of the once mighty Guitar Hero franchise with a Viking funeral, sending dozens of our plastic guitars out to sea on a burning boat. So watch out for the toxic fume clouds being carried inland if the wind changes.
It's not all bad news though, especially if you like shooting things from a first-person perspective, and who doesn't like that? I talked to Crytek exec producer Nathan Camarillo about sci-fi shooter Crysis 2, and Guy gets all up in the grill of the makers of tactical FPS operation Flashpoint Red River.
We'll also be giving away 3 exciting Duracell accessory packs worth over £100 a piece, one for each of the consoles, and we'll announce the winners of Call of Duty Black Ops First Strike Mac packs from the last show. Ready? Okay, let's do this.
In this week's news, our own Guy Cocker reported from Mobile World Congress in Barcelona, a gigantic mobile phone trade show where Sony Ericsson formally announced after months of rumour and leaked images that the PlayStation phone, properly known as Xperia Play, will be out worldwide next month. The Xperia Play will run the Android 2.3 Gingerbread operating system. No price has been announced though, and the PlayStation Store, through which consumers will buy and download games, will not launch until the end of the year.
But the device will run HD games at 60 frames per second according to the manufacturer. There's also support from Electronic Arts, Namco Bandai, Glue Mobile, PopCap and Gameloft in terms of software, meaning titles from the Guitar Hero, Battlefield and Dead Space franchises will quickly find their way onto the handheld. Kaz Hirai, Sony Computer Entertainment's president and group CEO, was also on stage at the event to announce that the Xperia Play will launch with one legendary PlayStation 1 title, although he didn't confirm which that would be. But I've got my heart set on Final Fantasy VII.
It would be legendary.
It would be legendary.
But not such good news for people who already own a bunch of stuff on the PlayStation Store though, right?
No, so sadly not. So the way this is going to work is you're going to use your existing PlayStation ID, PlayStation Network ID, to log into the store and buy stuff. But any games that you may have bought, so PlayStation 1 titles that might have been already bought on your PlayStation 3,
like Final Fantasy
VII, won't actually work. Well, they won't actually, your content purchase won't transfer across.
So you need to buy them again.
So you'll need to buy them again, which sucks. And you know, it's one of those things really with Sony where they don't kind of work together quite as well as you might imagine, to be honest. You know, they're building 2 separate devices here, the NGP, the PlayStation phone, and there's very little linking the two, so.
Still, good news for Android gaming, more generally.
Yeah, in general, absolutely. You know, this is the first device to come out for the PlayStation certified, one of the first PlayStation certified devices, so it'd be really interesting to see what other manufacturers come up with and how they can make something even cooler than the PlayStation phone.
All right. Also coming out in March, says the news, is Halo Reach's second map pack. The Defiant pack will hit Xbox Live next month. Like last November's Noble map pack, this pack will contain 3 maps and cost 800 Microsoft points. The 3 contrasting maps in Reach's Defiant map pack take in a space station, a military wilderness training facility and a titanium mine. Microsoft says the pack for Bungie's Halo prequel was developed in partnership with Certain Affinity, the Austin, Texas studio staffed by a number of former Bungie employees. Among Certain Affinity's recent work are contributions to Call of Duty Black Ops multiplayer and that game's First Strike map pack.
As ever, for those stories in detail and for more news, head over to gamespot.com/news.
Yet another thing due out in March is Crysis 2, which brings legendary PC pwning shooter series Crysis to the consoles for the first time. I took a trip to EA's offices to talk to developer Crytek about what this New York set sequel has in store. Hey, this is Jane Douglas for GameSpot UK. We're here with Nathan Camarillo, executive producer for Crysis 2. Hey Nathan, how's it going?
Good. It's exciting to be here today. We're almost finished with Crysis 2. We can't wait for everybody to get their hands on it and play it themselves, and we're really looking forward to letting everyone play it in March.
How's the development process been? Because you've got Crytek Frankfurt and Crytek UK. What's the split been on the work?
Yeah, it's really great because Crytek UK is a great studio, and in Frankfurt, you know, there's an awesome group of people working there as well. That's Crytek's headquarters. The multiplayer game is being made in Crytek UK, so it's a very pedigreed studio. They have a lot of guys going back with a lot of multiplayer console experience, and we're really fortunate to have them be a part of the team, and they're making really great nanosuit multiplayer for Crysis 2. In Frankfurt, the core R&D team is there that makes CryEngine 3, as well as the single-player team. So it's a multi-site, multi-studio endeavor, and a lot of it's coming together, and it's just going to be an awesome time for everyone when they play it.
When we talk about the enemies, how they differ from the first game, they're kind of like armored alien types.
Yeah, so in Crysis 2, one of the big things for us was really challenging the nanosuit by making the aliens as mobile as you are and using the space in the same way that you do, so you can anticipate and also learn routes throughout the space. And so we had to make aliens that were intelligent enough to find their way through the environment. And as part of that, they needed to be bipedal as well. They needed to touch the ground and be able to jump off of walls and slide down the side of buildings and get into the combat space. So they challenge you at all points in time, and it really forces you to change your tactics on the fly. We have these areas at the beginning of play spaces where you can kind of plan and catch your breath and maybe go invisible and see every opportunity that's out there. And then from there, when you jump into the action, that plan sort of goes out the window. Because it's very dynamic, but you react, based on how they react to the actions that you've taken. We have nanosuit modules that you can customize in real time, much like your weapon. So with your weapon, you can put different scopes, different grenade launcher, shotgun, whatever, silencer on your weapon. You change these out. We want to take the same approach with the nanosuit in Crysis 2. So you have different modules that you can equip. And one, as an example, might be like air combat, where you can have a vertical height advantage in the play space, and you see an enemy below you, and you jump, and then you just smash the ground and smash them as well, and just land right on top of them, pummel them into the ground. That's something that's not available to you by default. But as a choice, you might be giving up a perk that, or a module that gives you like a little bit more air time, like lets you glide a little bit further to make a longer jump. So you have to make a decision: do I want to smash people, or do I want to jump a little bit further? And it's the same single player or multiplayer. The way that you equip these modules and load out your nanosuit essentially changes the way that you can approach the gameplay space, whether it's a 2D sandbox, or not 2D sandbox, a single player sandbox, or a multiplayer map. And the multiplayer map becomes a multiplayer sandbox in that regard, because you have all of the suit mobility that you have in single player with ledge grabs and sliding and shooting, and all these modules, as well as being able to car kick in multiplayer and set booby traps and everything. So I mean, it's quite a deep amount of gameplay.
I thought it was really interesting the way you talk about the 3D in the game to avoid eye strain. It's I don't know how you describe it. It's inside the TV like a window rather than popping out at you.
Yeah, we call it a concave 3D experience because it starts at your TV screen and goes into the world, and is a deep 3D experience where we can offer a lot of depth, but we don't throw things out of the TV at you. When you pull things out of the TV, that causes you to focus your eyes closer than what you've been viewing, which is where the TV set is, and then that causes eye strain over time. And if you're playing hours and hours of multiplayer or hours of single player, we want you to be able to play that in 3D and enjoy it without having a headache or eye strain or anything. So we've done a lot of research in this area over the last couple of years and found that by setting it at the TV and then beyond, having your TV be the window into the Crysis world, that you can play for hours and experience 3D, and it's very gratifying, and you just don't get tired from it, and that's awesome.
Okay, Crysis is not traditionally known as an easy game. How are you pitching the difficulty of Crysis 2?
So it's challenging in all regards, depending on what difficulty you choose to try it at. Our hope is over time, if you start at an easier difficulty, you'll learn the gameplay mechanics and learn how powerful the nanosuit is, and you kind of graduate to higher levels of difficulty. And through things like the attachments and the nanosuit modules, you'll go back and replay with those. And then maybe a harder difficulty is now easier because you have extra tools at your disposal and you've learned more game mechanics and more ways to set booby traps. But if you go to our hardest difficulty level, like Super Soldier, and play against humans, they're going to pose you a significant challenge, and it's a completely different game than when you played it on the easy level. So, I think everyone will appreciate it no matter what difficulty level they play at.
Okay, cool. Thanks for talking to us, Nathan. And give us again the platforms and when the game is out, please.
Yeah, it's coming out in March 22nd in North America, March 25th in Europe, on Xbox 360, PlayStation 3, and PC.
Critical threat neutralized. world away from the nanosuits and aliens and New York, New York of Crysis 2 is Operation Flashpoint Red River, a sequel to 2009's realistic tactical military shooter Operation Flashpoint Dragon Rising. Guy had a word with developer Codemasters about what to expect.
The red rain's falling hard on us, gentlemen, and we need to make a stand now or we can forget Tajikistan. PLA's pushing strong through western areas of the country, so it's time to push back.
I'm Tim Brown, Principal Games Designer on Operation Flashpoint Red River, and I'm here to talk about it today.
It's the percussion and the booming soundtrack to war.
So Red River is all about you being a member of a fire team and the fire team leader in a conflict set in Tajikistan, which is a fictional conflict set in 2013. You're part of the United States Marine Corps, and the game is based around 4-player co-op throughout the campaign and 4 different FTE game modes. In Red River, the first thing we looked at was accessibility. One of the things that you'll notice is there's now tutorials to help the player, guide the player, nurture them. We've introduced a brand new character called Staff Sergeant Knox, who will tell the player what they're doing wrong if they're doing something wrong. We're aware that we have varying different levels of players who want to play our game. The people who are more used to more arcadey shooters are going to want to play on the normal difficulty setting. You can customize that by turning all sorts of different things off, including the aim assists, different HUD elements that will help and guide the player. Now for the more experienced player, there is experience game mode, and that has less checkpoints to use and certain aim assists already disabled. And then for the absolute hardcore creme de la creme of the players who really want a challenge, you can choose hardcore. Now that has absolutely nothing on the screen. You don't know where the enemies are going to be or where they are. All you can rely on is your fire team or your co-op friends that you're playing with. If I'm playing the mission and I'm finding something particularly tricky, or I see you come online and then you're able to just jump in and I say, right, can you pick the CQB guy or the scout because he's really good at long range and I'm having difficulty picking off these guys in the distance. You can just come in, choose your loadout that you particularly like, choose the weapons, the equipment, the B mods and specializations. It's just so much more fun to play with friends.
Kill it! Alpha's gonna cover you from the high ground. Charlie will cover you from the left. Charlie's in position on the left flank, waiting further instructions. This is Alpha Team!
So we took a lot of cues from shows like Generation Kill, documentary movies like Restrepo, and looked at all the different elements that make up being in the United States Marine Corps, and looking at what elements we could take and bring to the game to make it as authentic as possible, but also making it a game that people are going to want to play, that isn't just bogged down in realism and realism only.
Fire in the hole! See you at home, actual out.
I'm Tim Brown, Principal Games Designer on Operation Flashpoint Red River. We're in the final stages of Red River development. We are just sorting out the last few bugs. We're basically polishing the game, and it should be ready to go very, very soon.
What's that? You want to hear about new releases? Okay, fine, Mr. or Mrs. Moneybags. Here's some of what's coming to UK store shelves in the near future for you to buy with your moneybags.
Marvel vs. Capcom 3 is at the top of our must-have list and is out from February 18th for Xbox 360 and PS3. This is the crossover fighting game Jane and I were going on about a couple of shows back, and it is as spectacular as it is bonkers.
Speaking of bonkers, gleefully bloodthirsty shooter Bulletstorm comes out next week with optional tagline courtesy of Fox News. Is Bulletstorm the worst video game in the world? Find out on February 22nd.
Death Smiles Deluxe Edition for Xbox 360 comes out on February 18th. This is a side-scrolling shoot-'em-up from the shoot-'em-up virtuosos at Japanese studio Cave. It's super gothic and there's teen girls dressed as maids and nurses, and I don't even know what's going on there, but I like it.
Obviously, we're nothing without you, and feedback is how we know you're really there. Your tweets are like oxygen to us, and your emails and Facebook messages are like food and water. So if you don't want us to starve or suffocate, send us feedback. And if you do want us to starve and suffocate, obviously send us feedback to that effect.
So on the Start Select page, we had from Cloud Warrior 79, have to admit DC Universe seems like it could be great fun, but I cannot justify another subscription. That award goes to Warcraft and it just isn't going to change anytime soon.
Okay. Ed Yoshi says DC Universe is for free for a month. Cool. I thought the game was going to be pretty sad and the same as World of Warcraft, but this DC game looks twice as cool, and plus you can fly and it has 1,000,000 times better graphics than WoW.
And who doesn't want to fly? In answer to Guy's question, for which see the last show, and because our one dictionary is propping open the games room door, it really is, Ruffle Waffle tells us princely is defined as deluxe, rich and superior in quality, a princely sum, gilded dining rooms, or having the rank or befitting of a prince, a princely bearing, princely manner.
All right.
So there you go.
Useful. Over on Facebook, you told us what you thought of the aforementioned Xperia Play / PlayStation phone, and aren't you a skeptical bunch? James JT Thompson says, jack of all trades, master of none. I prefer to keep my phone and my games separate until they bring out a device that does everything well. It's an early judgment.
Well,
there,
it
really.
is, yeah.
Okay.
While Susie Belcourt reminds us how we've been burnt before. Remember the N-Gage? Yar.
Okay. Danny Rhea is more optimistic though. He says, I like the idea of this phone because it brings more ways to play games on the go. Say for an FPS game, you can use the two touch stick things. For quick games like Angry Birds though, you can just use the touchscreen. Competition time. On the last show, we had codes for Call of Duty Black Ops First Strike map pack for 10 lucky Blocks players.
They go to Matt Bianchi from Southampton, who also gets the Prestige edition of the game. Congratulations.
And also Damon Rees from Bristol.
James Faubert from Stroud.
Jack Stredwick from Lymington.
Jonathan Mullen from Manchester.
Tom Wallace from Winchester.
Ian Cook from Oxfordshire.
Stephen Emery from Ayr.
Terry Haggis from Milton Keynes.
And Joe O'Brien from Manchester. This time we've got 3 Duracell accessory bundles worth over £100 up for grabs. One for each of the 3 consoles, PS3, Xbox 360 and Wii. They come with cables and chargers and battery packs, and Mark, tell us about these wonderful prizes.
So there's a ton of these and they're really, really cool. So Duracell's just started selling a bunch of gaming accessories. So we've got stuff like this charge box for PS3, charge your PS3 remote.
Amazing.
And controllers. You've got stuff like this, which is the Xbox 360.
Yeah, and they're doing their own HDMI cables now.
They are.
Component cables.
Look at that, a fancy one with like cloth braided cabling and everything.
Super fancy.
And there's a Wii console dock as well, which is cool, and you can put your Wii remotes in there and stuff like that. You can put your Wii in there as well if you like.
Cool.
Which is great.
Thank you very much, Mark. To win one of the packs, answer us this. What was the name of the mid-90s Duracell tie-in computer game starring the Duracell Bunny? Answers to competitions@gamespot.co.uk as ever, along with your postal address and which console you prefer your bundle for.
That's one more show come and gone, but thank you for joining us. Between now and the next show, send us your pertinent thoughts and questions over on Twitter, where we're at GameSpotUK, or on Facebook from facebook.com/GameSpotUK.
And don't forget to get your competition entries to competitions@gamespot.co.uk. See you next time.